solar panels owned by people from Kyiv. On the morning of March 9th, the soldiers came house to house, demanding their phones. "I only have an old phone with music," protested Vika. "I don't want your music," laughed one. He looked around at the three-room shack with potatoes piled in every available space, including the shelves above the bed, and its latrine shed outside. "Why don't you move along the road?" he asked disparagingly. "There is an empty house that's much more modern." That night, they came for Vika. There were three of them, the commander and two young soldiers, Oleg, who was 21, and Danya, who was just 19, the same ages as her own sons, both of whom were in Germany, working in a brewery. Oleg dragged Vika to her neighbour Igor's house, where another white sheet had been tied, and told her to knock as they wanted to take his wife. When Igor opened the door, his phone rang. "You were supposed to take their phones," the commander admonished Oleg. Oleg went to shoot at Igor, but somehow the bullet grazed the commander's leg instead. "You idiot," he yelled, clutching his foot in pain. Danya started waving his automatic around, then dragged Igor out to the street, put his gun to his head, and beat him. "We have to go, they're taking us somewhere," Vika told Igor's wife, Anya. The commander looked her up and down. "No, she can stay, she is bulky," he said. Danya left Igor whimpering on the ground and pulled Vika away by the neck of her hoodie. "You're hurting me," she protested. "He was already touching me and trying to kiss me, and I felt disgusted," she recalled. This time they took her a few more doors down to number 25, where a widow called Valentina lived with her daughter Natasha, who was 41, her son-in-law Sasha, who was 43, and their 15-year-old son. Sasha came to the door. "Take me, not her," he implored. Oleg pulled out his gun. "I'm Russian. You're not going to shoot me," pleaded Sasha. As he turned to try and shut the door, they shot him in the back of the neck, and he fell to the ground. A horrified Vika watched them kick the body away as Natasha came running out. "Where's Sasha?" she cried. "Where's my Sasha?" Oleg pulled her outside, and the two women were dragged across the road and several doors down to the Holubenkos, the two-story yellow house that the Russians had made their headquarters. "Guess what? Who are we going to fuck today?" laughed Danya. "One's 41 and one's 42. "I could be your mother," protested Vika. "Don't you have a girlfriend?" "Yes, she's 17, and I've only kissed her on the cheek," he replied. "But you, I'm going to keep here till I'm finished with." He pulled down her leggings and knickers and raped her in the living room, while upstairs Oleg and others raped Natasha. "He was telling me to do many stupid things," recalled Vika, shaking her head. "Then at one point he went out to fetch Oleg, so I quickly dressed and ran to the street and back to my house. By then it was midnight, the house is all in darkness. Vika could see no sign of her husband, so she ran along the road to the house of a retired music teacher, Viktor Danilovich, a kindly man of 71, and banged on his window. "Uncle Viktor," she cried, "they shot Sasha and raped me and Natasha, and where is my Vitaly?" Viktor told her to hide in his daughter's room, which was empty, as she had gone to stay with friends in another village where they had a bunker. But Vika was worried about Vitaly, so she hurried back to the house. I grabbed my backpack with documents, then heard him whisper, "Vika." He was in the attic where we store potatoes. I climbed up the ladder outside in the snow. We stayed till morning, but couldn't sleep. Then we went back to Uncle Victor's. Victor showed them into the room of his grown-up daughter. They were scary to look at because they were trembling so much, he said. The couple would stay hidden in his home for a month until the soldiers left. Of course it was a risk, he shrugged. If the Russians discovered, who knows, I'd be killed. But I'm so old I'm not really afraid of anything, and I was angry at what the Russians had done. Tears spilled from Victor's roomy blue eyes as he added, "I kept thinking of my own daughter, who was staying with a friend in another village, thinking thank God she wasn't here, and praying they don't do the same where she is."